All right. This is our presentation over Monday Morning Leadership, 8 mentoring sessions you can't afford to miss by David Cotterill. So being a manager is not easy, and I think this is something that we all understand and recognize. Monday Morning Leadership starts off exploiting Jeff Walter's situation. He was in a slump in his managerial position at a Fortune 500 company and was experiencing struggles in not only his professional life, but his personal life as well. He hit his breaking point and he needed help. Enter Tony Pierce, a college friend's dad who was a very successful but semi-retired businessman. At Jeff's college graduation, Tony had given him a note to congratulate him and to say if he ever wanted to talk about personal life or business, you just have to ask. And that's what Jeff did. Tony asked Jeff for two things. Tony didn't want to solve Jeff's problems. He wanted to help Jeff become a better person, and he wanted to commit to teaching others the lessons he was going to learn. Tony and Jeff met one-on-one every Monday for 8 weeks, hence Monday Morning Leadership. In our presentation, we're going to take you through those 8 Mondays and give you a brief overview of the lessons Tony passed on to Jeff, which has now been passed on to us. So on to the first Monday. The first Monday started out with some skepticism. Jeff doubted how much Tony was really going to be able to do, but that sentiment was quickly changed. Tony started with the ground rules of their meetings, which involved being on time, which Jeff was not that first morning, telling the truth, and trying something different. Sounds simple enough, right? Tony then asked Jeff what had been going on, and Tony listened patiently. Jeff explained that when he was promoted to a manager position, he tried to be one of the guys to the people he was in charge of, something that many managers try to do to build camaraderie in the team. That's when results started to go downhill, and Jeff needs something to change before it was too late. Tony took in all of this information and then responded to his situation. This chapter was titled Drivers and Passengers. And what that means is that in a company, there are different positions, but each position is a little different, just like the different people in a car. Passengers are free to do things that the driver can't do, like mess with music, eat snacks, talk to other people in the car, while the driver has other things that they need to focus on, like the road and the car's driving. This metaphor can be used for a leadership position as well. A leader can't necessarily be one of the guys. As a manager, you're going to have to make decisions, and blaming upper management isn't going to help. You now accept the responsibility for that department. And those are the two big takeaways from that first Monday. Until you accept total responsibility, no matter what, you will not be able to put plans into place to accomplish your goals, and transitioning from a manager to a leader requires that you make different decisions.
The second Monday of Monday Morning Leadership was dedicated to keeping the main thing the main thing. So this means keeping the main thing, is all about knowing what your team needs to achieve and executing on that objective. It's so easy to forget what your true job is when a company continues to evolve your position with extra work. But it's important to remind your team and supervisor of your objectives. When your company is understaffed, it's common for teams to take on additional tasks, but it's the supervisor's job to make sure that it aligns with the team's goals. People quit people before they quit companies. It was a great quote from this book. One of the reasons is often not having clear goals and feedback from their manager. Managing up is a very important topic as well, because having a good relationship with your supervisor sometimes comes down to you developing it yourself. Don't be scared to schedule time with your manager yourself. The third Monday of Monday Morning Leadership talks about how to escape from management land. There are employees who can make an art out of saying the right thing to the manager, but say their true feelings to everyone else. Managers need to know the best way to get to the root of their employees' issues, and often the best method to know how your employees feel or what you could do better is to simply ask them. Typically, employees want to tell you these things. It's important to know your team and what level each person is at. There are 3 levels that are discussed in Monday Morning Leadership. Superstars, the people who have the experience, knowledge, and desire to be the very best at their jobs. Typically, this group makes up about 30% of a team. Middle stars, middle of the road employees who lack experience or used to be superstars and have lost desire and drive. Usually, these make up about 50% of a team. And falling stars are the members of a team doing as little as they can get away with, typically making up about 20% of a team. Nothing is more discouraging to a team than seeing falling stars be treated and compensated the same as superstars for doing far less work. It's easy for managers to rely on their superstars, but burnout is real and something companies need to be very concerned about. performance reviews. These levels need to be discussed in all performance reviews. The best team members should be recognized for their above average work, and falling stars need to be reprimanded during these reviews. Employees will feel very discouraged if all employees get the same review no matter their performance. And it's important not to lower your standards to accommodate your falling stars. You need to recognize your superstars. And on to the next chapter.
So in this chapter on the fourth Monday, it was titled Do the Right Thing. And there were two main objectives. The first one is develop your action plan before you get into a crisis. So, for example, you see pilots don't make decisions when they are in the crisis. They implement plans that were already made before the crisis. So try and plan for a crisis, or at least put a structure as a manager of who is going to deal with what when a crisis happens, because of course a manager will not be able to expect all and every crisis that is going to happen, but at least if they have planned, it's going to be easier to manage that throughout this crisis, and it will come up with less damage. And then the second point is that the people can be the superstars in one area and falling stars in another. So not only falling stars that needs to be improved or asked about their performance, also like falling stars, superstars need to be at least recognized, as was mentioned in the last chapter, that to be recognized for their work so they can keep going and keep being motivated. The second objective in this chapter was to guard your integrity like it's your most precious management position, and that's really true. So in this point, Tony was telling Jeff that he thought, like, if a manager sees a problem, that a manager thinks that he is the only one who sees it, which in most of the situation, the manager probably the last one to see that. And when people and employees see that the manager knows about something and does not do anything about it, it's so easy to start questioning his or her integrity, which is not going to put a manager in a good position where there is like the quote of like with great power comes great responsibility. It's easier to question a manager's integrity than an employer's integrity. So Tony was making sure that Jeff needs to guard his integrity, and if he sees something wrong, no matter how close he is to that person or how this person's circumstances are really bad, he needs to do the right thing because everybody else is watching and he is the role model for everyone. Moving on to the next chapter. In this chapter, it was titled Hire Tough. It deals more with that you need to have in order to, like, the best asset to your company is having the right people. And in order to have the right people, you have two options. It's either to hire tough and manage easy, or hire easy and manage tough. But the better option here is to hire tough. And in order to do that, there is the 3 rules of 3. And it is basically, the first thing is to interview at least 3 qualified candidates for every position that you have. Interview the candidates 3 times. In these times, it's recommended to interview the candidates in different times. So, for example, if you interview the candidate the first time in the morning, make the other time in the afternoon, so you can see how they are, like their performance in all the times of the day that you will be dealing with them. The third point is have 3 people evaluate the candidates, because by this you mean like you have 3 perspectives: the manager's perspective, and in this case in the book it was the HR perspective, and then it is recommended to have someone from the superstars of your team to join this evaluation, because they have a sense of the atmosphere of the team and what they need. It's exactly like if the coach in a sport, they bring the captains of the team in any recruits or recruiting calls or visits or anything, because those captains or superstars in this case are the representative kind of the team that you are working with, and they are aware of the like the insides of the team and the work that sometimes the manager is not really aware of. Then the second objective in this chapter was never to lower your standards to fill a position that because you will pay for it later. Not only the manager will pay for it, it's also that everybody in the team will pay for this, and they will be compensating for what they already gave up on in the hiring position, which why you don't really hire easy and then manage stuff, because you're not going to be able to manage stuff and you will have to have everybody else in the team compensating for this like drawback. So you have to try to higher standards and not lower them at all, so you can have like at least the bare minimum in this, and you don't make anybody else pay for that. Moving on.
Going into week 6, there was a good amount of success from the weeks previous. Although this success was time consuming, this week's lessons centered around time management and the fact that we're all bound by the same 24 hours a day. The question is, who can spend your time but you? Since we're all bound by the same time constraints, how then do we save time? According to Cottrell, there are 2 ways. You can do less or you could do things faster. But first, we must find out where our time's going. To do this, there are 4 questions to ask. Are you doing the main things or are you doing the wrong things? And do we spend our time doing the things right or doing things wrong? Cottrell brings this challenge into perspective in the Pareto principle, stating that 80% of results come from just 20% of your activities. This is important for managers to find the activities which have the highest payoff and shed those with the lowest results. Here are some tips for managing your time. Set aside uninterrupted planning time every day. You will not regret this investment. Clean your desk. A clean desk makes you look organized and will make you more efficient. Schedule one-on-one sessions with your boss and staff. You can get most accomplished uninterrupted. Don't fall into the perpetual scheduling of meeting syndromes. Make sure every meeting is absolutely necessary. Moving on to the next chapter. Week 7, we learned about the importance of personnel and the value in training them. Cottrell uses the analogy of filling the buckets of staff, as well as being aware of holes that can appear. Further, acknowledging the value of staff as contributing to the majority of the organizational output, the importance of filling your staff's bucket becomes clear. You need your staff. A filled bucket amounts to a motivated employee, but beware of dippers in the organizations. Dippers take from the buckets of others using negativity, fear, and stress. There are 4 ways to handle the dippers and make sure you fill buckets. Number 1, knowing the main things or what is in the importance of the organization. Give feedback on performance. This is in addition to performance reviews. Make it constant. Provide recognition, meaning to involve them in major decisions and celebrate their wins. Communicate the team score because everybody wants to be on a winning team. Moving on to the next chapter.
The final week captures Jeff's graduation from Tony's sessions. Jeff explains that all the sessions have improved his leadership skills and the environment he works in. Tony commends Jeff on his hard work, but leaves him with some key points to remember. In order to reach your potential, you must leave your comfort zone and enter what we call the learning zone. In the learning zone, there are 3 rooms: the reading room, the listening room, and the giving room. In the reading room, it is important for us to spend time reading. We must take advantage of a free resource in front of us, full of experts' knowledge, just waiting for us to soak it up. A key point to remember in the reading room is to remain disciplined and to make time for reading as we live our life. A little bit of reading each day goes a long way, thus preparing us for bigger and better things. The giving room highlights that many managers fail to listen. The listening room highlights that many managers fail to listen to staff. Egos, arrogance, and insensitivity get in our own way and dismantle relationships between a manager and staff. By attending outside seminars, we can gather new information and in turn, listen better by making better decisions. Furthermore, we must do more with our free time to listen to motivational presentations, informative podcasts, and the like. By spending a little bit of time in our year listening to those things in our downtime, we become better listeners and grow in wisdom. Finally, the giving room addresses success as a cycle. In order to fully achieve more, we must give back to others our wisdom. By sharing what we know, we become accountable for that information, thus making us better leaders. Tony finalizes this conversation with one key lesson about goals. In order to be lifelong learners, we must set specific goals. Most people fail to set goals because of four main reasons. People do not know the importance of goal setting. People do not know how to set goals. People are afraid to fail. And people do not want to leave their comfort zone. In order to be lifelong learners, we must set specific goals that look fear in the face, that push us out of our comfort zone, and that builds us up. Write your goal down on paper, write actions to achieve the goal, get comfortable with failure, and stay outside of your comfort zone and in the learning zone. That finishes week 8. We then get to the epilogue with Jeff meeting us and shares with us what has happened in the last 2 years. Jeff has been promoted and Jenny has accepted Jeff's old role. Jeff shares with us that by stepping up and getting out of our comfort zone, we take the first step of reaching our goal at being a better manager. Secondly, by applying the knowledge, we in turn become better managers by applying it to all facets of our life. And finally, we are sharing our wisdom, which is the final step in achieving more. I'm good. And cut.